Unfortunately, the introduction from the interview did not save. So just to give you a quick intro, I spoke with professional MMA fighter Jake Heffernan. Jake has an upcoming fight this Sunday on Fury FC 74. You can watch it live on UFC Fight Pass.
The rest is all, just nonstop, grind mode, basically.
Yeah. Can you just give people an idea of what your typical day-to-day routine looks like? I know there's a difference in training between when you're in camp and out of camp.
Yeah. Honestly, the game planning is really what changes the most. Because when I'm just regularly training, it's, Monday morning, wake up, make breakfast, take the kids to school. My daughter stays with me. She's about to walk up in the camera view in just a second here. But, get the first training session in by 11 o'clock, some 10 or 11 o'clock, depending on the day. Take a slight lunch break, rest, maybe like a nap in the middle of the day. And then I start teaching my classes for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, for the kids classes, then the adult classes. And then I take off from there to go hit my strength conditioning on Mondays and Wednesdays at least. And I go hit the treadmill first, hit a like 3 mile run, go hit the CrossFit rig after that for a little bit of light, high repetition lifting, and then maybe a little sauna session for some sweat. And then Tuesday morning and Thursday morning, what I do is a hard sparring session with a couple of guys from around town from like War Training Facility and other places like sometimes 4 ounce fight club and things like that. But just to go train with the other high level guys in the town so that I can get those different looks just from my regular average training partners. And Friday is my day off. That's the day of the week that I take light, do a couple private lessons in that day. Teach some jujitsu to the kids or a few, soccer moms and dads that just want to get a little taste of the martial arts life.
Right.
And then Saturday is always a super hard training day, hour and a half of jujitsu, and then followed with another 30 to 45 minutes of hard sparring. And then from there, take the rest of Saturday off just to let the body recoup. And then Sunday, I actually fill my day with private lessons as well. Just hit a ton of, I'll do some cardio kickboxing with some guys, some jujitsu rounds with a couple other guys, and then a few kids lessons. So I usually train for like 5 or 6 hours in a row Sunday morning.
Jeez,
And then,
definitely a
and then,
jam-packed schedule for sure.
yeah, and then Monday it starts all over again. And then again, the only thing that changes is on when we pick up the fight. We hit our video studying on the opponent. We game plan and we kind of change the way I spar. So it'll be, instead of depending on the type of fighter I got, is it going to be a grappling fight? Are we going to strike more? Are we going to look to wall fight? We kind of game planned around that and then focus in. Every once in a while I'll hit kind of mock fights where I'll get like Ricky Tercios, he's that guy in the picture right there.
Yep.
And then Alex Morano, he's that guy in the picture right there. And and they'll do mock simulated fights with me. We got the big gloves on and all the gear, and we grease up and stuff to make sure no injuries happen. But I'll do 3 5s with them, and we'll just look at it like it's a fight, and it's my job to win the fight. And so that's one thing that kind of changes up for the for when there's an actual fight coming up. But otherwise, the training regimen stays the same year round. I mean, apart from diet change, when the fight comes, and then game planning, that's really the only thing that changes.
What are some of those diet changes? You don't mind
I try to every time I fight, I always say right after the fight, I'm not gonna eat too much. I'm not gonna go splurge on food, but that always kind of is hard not to do. Like, what is life if you don't get to enjoy food? But for the last year, I've had a Eric Pena, which is a food nutritionist,
Mhm.
and he's been helping me fine tune my diet, trying to make sure I stay on regimen.
Mhm.
And so really, especially like in this camp, especially because I was coming off of a little bit of an injury, so he like came in the last part of my camp and really zeroed me in and got me on the right food scales. And that's just like weighing your food, making sure you're eating every 3 to 4 hours, your hydration is correct, and then just staying away from like the indulging foods like candy or cake and
Right.
ice cream and pizza, things like that. And just kind of zeroing in on the more solid meals like good meats and vegetables and the right kind of carbs and stuff like that.
And how much does it mean to you to be fighting in your hometown, essentially? I know Cyprus isn't too far from where the fight is taking place in Houston this weekend.
Yeah, yeah. I love fighting in Houston. I love competing for the crowd. I fought in out of state. I've been the enemy in somebody else's city. And it's all just an experience. The experience is where it's at. I love training to leave the city and go show other guys my skill set. So I do definitely enjoy the cross country training, and I'm very much so ready to go train in other countries at this point. Like that's one thing about fighting I've always kind of been looking forward to, is eventually getting to train or fight in other countries.
Right.
But fighting in Houston is fun because my kids will be there, my wife will be there, all my friends will be there, my family. So it's like you get to perform in front of the people you love the most, and so that's always something that's kind of a good way to like push yourself to go a little bit harder.
Right. Can you just talk a little bit more about growing up in Cypress, Texas? Like, what are some of the lessons you might have learned growing up there that you still carry with you to this day?
Man, it was rough growing up in Cyprus. I live in the Woodlands now, which is about 45 minutes away from Cyprus, but it was very, I don't know, man. I mean, the whole reason I fought is because I fight now is because I always thought fighting was the scariest thing to do, and I always thought, you know, you do things not because they are easy, but because they are hard, to quote a famous president. And so that's what I always thought I would do in life, is just find the thing that I thought was the hardest and do that well. And so in Cyprus growing up, I was always terrified of getting into fights, and I always thought I would get into fights in high school, and I did. I got into a lot of fights in high school, and a lot of fights outside of school, and it was always terrifying. I was always like, I always had that look of like I'm confident in myself, but in my mind I was always scared I was going to get in trouble or something like that. And then one of the reasons I moved out of Cyprus was because I had like two directions to take, which was, so some of the friends I had, not all, but some, were kind of going down that path of, the rougher lifestyle, the working 9 to 5 and getting into trouble and going in and out of jail, or just being miserable in life because you're not where you want to be. And so that's why I kind of got away from Cyprus for the most part, and moved up towards the Woodlands, is because I met, actually Ricky and Alex, and they kind of showed me that there was an easier way to do it. It was the hard way, but it was a hard way to get to the easy life. So, I'm one of those surround yourself with eagles and you'll soar types. And so that's what I did. And I love Cyprus. I go there all the time to go visit some friends and family that live up there still. But it's hopefully getting better and better as time goes on. They always say that it's going to become the new Woodlands soon, and I hope so. And
Yeah.
but honestly, I love living in the Woodlands. I love the Woodlands Conroe area is where I'm at now, and this gym right here, this Gracie Baja, the Woodlands.
Nice.
That's where I teach at and train at, and it's always a joy to be here, doing the martial arts life as a coach and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
both areas have a special place in my heart for sure.
Right. And I remember watching one of your interviews from the past, and you said that you and your friends would set up like backyard brawls after school. So
Yeah,
I'm kind of
yeah,
curious about that. What did that look like? Like, how many people were involved? Were you guys fighting for any kind of money? How
man.
badly were people hurt?
There was no money, there was no value other than being able to say that you did it.
Right.
It's one of those things where it's funny. Actually, Alex always says like, don't tell people about that, but it is a part of my past, and it's what made me learn that I did want to do this forever. It was something I immediately was good at because I just was willing to bite down on my mouthpiece and go. And again, there was, other than glory, there was nothing really coming from it. But it was just one of those things. There was probably, at one point, there was probably like 50 or 60 of us doing it, and it was just this fun thing. We would meet each other a month in advance, and then we would say this is when we're going to do it, and we'd all meet up somewhere and beat each other up. There was a couple of times we did it in backyards. One time we did it in my house. Another time we did it in like what we would call a sand pit area, which was an old like quarry for I don't even know what they were digging for, but it was a giant sandy pit where they used to do construction, and kind of just being dumb, honestly, because their guys got injured, they had to go to the hospital. We got busted by the cops a couple of times. So this is one of those things, man. It's like I remember thinking like, oh, Kimbo Slice did that too, and he got famous. Maybe I'll get famous one day. And
Um,
some guys from high school hit me up and still remind me of, hey, you remember when you used to do those backyard brawls? And it's funny though, out of all the dudes, and I would say again, the most number was probably 60 guys. I'm the only one that ended up doing MMA. So, so it was one of those things where it was just a who's who was fighting. But yeah, man, definitely part of my past was just that goes back into the scrappiness of before the gym style lifestyle of martial arts.
well, thankfully you did find a gym and the backyard brawls came to an end. Can you just talk about how much the guys like Gracie Baja mean to you in your career now?
Oh man, they're family, bro. Like Alex is my brother, Ricky's my brother. One of my guys is fighting on the card with me for the 185 belt. Sean, he's actually staring at me right now. But yeah, we're all family here, man. This is I couldn't live life without these guys. In the gym, out of the gym, they are my day ones. Again, when I met them, I immediately sensed that they were in that high rate of success just by focusing on a goal. And again, it was either cluck with the chickens or soar with the eagles, and everybody at my gym is flying high and doing what they love and training hard and very dedicated, and they have their eye on the prize constantly, and that's something that you have to surround yourself with to be successful. And it's funny. I met my wife here at the gym. Most of the other coaches met their wives at the gym, so it's like one of those things where if you dedicate yourself to something, if you find something you're good at, and you surround yourself in that realm, you'll find nothing but happiness, and that's what I found here at this gym.
Awesome. And I know Ricky's a former tough winners. Would you ever consider living in the Ultimate Fighter house?
Yeah, actually, I tried out one time. I tried out for the undefeated season when I was 5-0. And that was the one that Bryce Mitchell was on. And man, it's funny. I met Bryce Mitchell. I hung out with him a couple of times. Nothing too crazy because we were mostly getting medicals done. But I thought I would end up fighting Bryce Mitchell in the tough house because I was for sure I was going to go. But yeah, I was definitely down, especially now. My kids are much older. At the time, I only had my son. He was like 6 weeks old when I tried out for the house. And but it was cool, man. My gym family was like, "Hey, we'll support your wife while you're gone. We support you fully." My sponsors were ready to send me and make sure I had all my bills paid. Yeah, I would definitely do the Ultimate Fighter House for sure if they do another 45 season, or if they're down to have a 45 or 55 season. I would do that for sure.
I know there's a bunch of talk about who's coaching the next season of Ultimate Fighter, so maybe see Jake on the next
Yeah,
next
maybe,
season.
man. I can definitely put away 6 weeks pretty easily, so that's no problem for me.
Yeah. And just to shift gears a little bit, I want to just talk about your future plans in MMA. Previously, you said that getting to turn amateur into a pro fighter was a dream of yours, and it was a dream come true. So, at this point of your career, what are your dreams now in the sport?
Man, still got my eye on the prize. Still want to get to the big show. Get to the UFC. Make a statement. Make the big paychecks finally for the wife and the kids. And, but honestly, the dream is the overall dream is to just be successful in any realm. It doesn't matter what you're doing, and I just want to have good fights that people remember, that they look back on when they think about Houston MMA, and I want to have good fights in the UFC that people, maybe make it to the fight of the year, or knockout of the year, or finish of the year, or whatever it may be. And so the dream is to be successful, and the most successful thing in MMA is make it to the UFC. So
Yeah.
that's still the dream. And I always, every interview I do, I always feel like I'm one fight away. So with a good solid victory on Sunday, we'll sit and wait for the call, and if I don't, that's fine. I'll schedule another fight. I'll perform again, and then we'll start the whole process over again, and then wait for a call after that one. And then if that doesn't happen, then we'll do it again. And because again, I'm a martial artist. Like I have the lifestyle of just sleep, train, eat, sleep, repeat. So
Uh,
it's all about just keeping your eyes forward. always knowing that the light at the end of the tunnel is just a sprint away.
Right. And I know that you've talked about difficulties with matchmaking in the past. Were there any difficulties in getting this one versus Matheus Camilo set up?
Not as hard as before. I thought I would get rematched with Butler. I did get injured and have to reschedule on Butler, and I had told him, hey, I'll be ready in February. I just got a small little injury I need to take care of, and it was like the injury was a little bit more major. I had to dodge getting surgery, and that's kind of where we had to make the choice of, do we fight and then go get surgery, or do we do the rehab to not have surgery and skip the fight? And so we just kind of took that smarter draw out, and I hit up Eric. I said I'm ready to go February. He hit me back up a couple of weeks later and had my Matheus. And so it was not as hard as usual. I don't really get Houston guys or Texas guys much anymore. So I'm pretty sure he's from Brazil, and that's cool, man. It's cool to, again, it's either fight guys from other countries or have guys from other countries come and fight me. Right. That's a part of the dream, honestly, is to be able to fight world round, or around the world, and have guys come from around the world to fight me. That's the whole thing.
Awesome. Right. And when you lie down at night and you start thinking about the fight on Sunday, how do you envision this one going down?
Man, we've done a lot of studying, so we want to stay to the game plan. But I consider myself to be a full and all-around fighter. I do gravitate towards the grappling, so that's always something that's going to show itself in my fights. But the longer the time has gone on, the more that I consider myself to be a great striker, and so I wouldn't mind getting it done on the feet. That's something we'll always start with and try to finish with, is just getting those hands going. And beyond that, it's we just play to the strengths of our own style, and then don't allow the other person to play to their strengths. And so I hope to get it done on the feet. Honestly, maybe a solid straight two down the pipe would be optimal. But if not that, then I'm down for a 3-round knockdown, drag out, barn burner style fight. Hey, let's get fight of the night if anything. So just anywhere it can go, honestly.
Right. Well, there's one thing the fans can expect, is that you'll leave it all out on the line. And when I watch your fights and even your interviews, there's something about your mental toughness that is unmatched. Many people, after losing to Gabriel Silva, who then got a call from the UFC, to then breaking their leg 10 seconds into their next fight, to then be told they might not ever be able to use their hand again after a hunting accident. Most people would have given up, man. So where does this mentality come from?
Man, you know what? Again, I think that comes back to the people I surround myself with, my support system. When you have all the people in your life that utterly support you, my wife, my kids, my family, and then my gym family, there's just always a push to, meet the standard that you've set for yourself, but then also to have people behind you that keep telling you can do it. It's, you're not that far away, or the injury's not that bad, or, you just glass half full all the time. And, you got to stay away from the victim mentality and look at everything as there's a where, there's a will, there's a way. And if I had any more will, I'd be a Green Lantern.
For sure.
That's the way it is, man. It's there's one thing that you can't teach, and that's heart. And I think that mine is, 5 sizes bigger than it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
After I got shot, that was probably the most where I thought, things might derail, but I had the gym support system, the family support system, and we just got back on track as soon as we could. Smashed the injury time by quite a bit, in almost by a year and a half, and then got back to training, got back in shape, got the right hand working, and then got back on the ball with fighting. So it's just one of those things, man. I think I was born with it, but hopefully it'll translate to my kids as well.
Yeah. Many people during UFC 283 were calling for the ref for a corner to stop the fight during the main event, or especially during the Murphy versus Andrade fight. Do you think that many people in your profession have a level of mental toughness that can be too much for their own good?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I fought guys where I hit them with everything in the kitchen sink, and they just keep coming. I've been in those fights, like when I broke my leg, and I just kept going forward, kept going forward. And it's understandable. That's what you have your coaches for. There are coaches out there that understand that there's times to call the fight, and that's what you got to focus on them for. Is there, because my will is unending, and I'll never give up, and I'll never surrender. But when I got a couple of guys in the corner that are out for my well-being more than anything else, I think they're the ones they're the best to make the call, and that's what you got to kind of focus on and look for is a good corner. And so, yeah, sometimes we are a little too tough for our own good. So, but it comes with doing this every single day out, beating yourself up, getting beat up, beating other people up. You learn to break all limits.
Right. I'm sure that's an extremely tough position for the coach, like you said as well. But at the end of the day, the coach just has to do his best for their fighter. And speaking about coaching, you often post on social media you helping out with the kids' classes and teaching some of the kids' classes. Do you think that coaching has helped you in your own career? Is it something you would consider doing full time after fighting?
Yeah, for sure. Like the goal will be for sure. Like when I'm at that age where competing just doesn't really have my body doesn't have the ability anymore. The goal will be, train some guys up, get them in the UFC, and then become a UFC corner. And obviously, all around corner, a local corner, and but yeah, getting guys to the big show after me, so I can share my experiences and tell them the right path to take, and also just helping guys get themselves on the straight and narrow from the hard lifestyles. And that'll be the overall goal. And that's one thing I do love, and having the kids classes. And it's funny, I have a very, very hard point whether I win a fight, lose a fight, have a draw, get a fight dropped. I always show up to class the very next day, so I make sure all the kids know that no matter what happens in fights, I'm still their coach. I'm still here, and I'm still proud to be doing what I do. And that's another like driving force is to have all these little ones underneath me to kind of show them, what it means to be, a fighter. So,
Well, Jake, just put that coaching career aside a little bit longer because we love to see you fight. And I really appreciate you taking the time. And I look forward to watching you fight again this Sunday. Guys, subscribe to UFC Fight Pass this weekend so you could watch Jake throw down. Are there any last words you have? And can you let the people know where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, my social media is JakeGBTW on Instagram, Jake Heffernan MMA fighter on Facebook, and then JakeGBTW89 on Twitter. And then from there, man, just a shout out to my sponsors, Scale or Exit, and Case Ray, and Guardian Roofing. These are all some of my new sponsors that just came into fruition for this camp. And they're always going to be sponsors through fights, but these guys have really kind of supported me, and we like literally sat down and went over some stuff on how I could have that support. They're not just sending checks. I know these guys personally, so I really appreciate them. And then from there, just like my preventative guys like Houston Spine and Rehab and the Woodlands Yoga Studio, and even the guys that give me my tattoos, Bayou City Tattoo Shop, like these guys are all right behind me and making sure that I can continue to have this lifestyle on top of coaching and doing private lessons and stuff. So I appreciate them thoroughly. And then of course just my gym family. I can't thank them enough. Gracie Baja, the Woodlands, my cross training gym, war training facility, and then of course my family, my wife Nikita, and my kids Ronan and Zeppelin. Like they're my driving force. They are the reason that I do this every day nonstop, and so I just can't thank them enough. And that's it.
Well, Jake, thank you so much for the time again, man. I really can't wait for Sunday to watch you fight. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.